way we grow and produce food is ever-changing, shaped by consumers and the climate in which we live and farm. Research at all points of our food system is essential for continuously improving food's journey from farm to table. The Manitoba Agriculture and Food Knowledge Exchange explores timely research innovations and applications that make our food system better than ever. Join us for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to ChangeMAKErs, a Manitoba Agriculture and Food Knowledge Exchange podcast series. My name is Peter Frohlich. I am the Research Development Coordinator for the National Centre for Livestock and the Environment at the University of Manitoba. In each episode, we chat with an academic member of the Faculty of Agriculture and Food Sciences at the university to find out about the research they're working on and how this research is shaping agriculture and food production in Manitoba and beyond. We also get to know the researchers and get to know the person behind these discoveries. Today, I am joined by Dr. Hooman Derakhshani, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Animal Science at the University of Manitoba. Thank you for joining us, Hooman.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Peter.
So, Hooman, before we get into the details about your research, can you please let us know why you decided to become a researcher and a professor and why you got interested in your field of research?
That's an interesting question. My career journey has been really long and strange, kind of, because when I was growing up, I never imagined I'm going to become a professor or a researcher. When I was during my high schools or even later in the undergrads, I never imagined I'm becoming a university professor. I grew up a family dairy farm back in my home country in Iran. My dad had a 300 lactating dairy herd. That was where I grew up. And when you grow up with these animals, you grow the passion, the love to care for these animals. Like many of the students here in our pre-vet classes at the undergrad here, they are coming from farming families. So that's the passion, the love for the animals that pushes you to go to the vet school. So that's what I did. I went to the vet school, and then after graduating, I started working in our family farm for few years, just involved in day-to-day management, taking care of the animals and all those things. But life brings us a lot of surprises for you.
That's right.
The recession hit our country, the economy kind of collapsed. We couldn't maintain the farm anymore. So I moved on. I started a new kind of career again back in Iran for 2 years. I did a meat inspection role as a veterinarian. But that was not keeping me happy. That was not my mission in life kind of thing. So at the time I talked to my wife. She's also a veterinarian. We were classmates back in vet school. And we decided to, let's go explore the world. There might be better things for us out there. So, we decided to try different countries. And the easiest way to do that is usually to graduate studies in other countries. I started to get few options. I explored a few universities in the US. I remember I applied for UC Davis. I got admission from UC Davis in California. I applied for University of Guelph here in Canada, and this goes back to, I think, 2009 or 2010, something like that. And then I also applied for a Master in Animal Science in Australia, in the University of Queensland. And I got admission. Between these three, I decided to go to Australia, give it a shot. I went there, I did a Master's for 1.5 years. And my major was again in Animal Science, Hooman Microbiology. Interestingly, one of the professors over there, he liked me and he told me that you're becoming a good researcher. You need to go to one of the labs in Canada. They're doing great things related to Hooman microbiology, which is kind of very linked to my current research area. And he told me just contact those labs and that lab happened to be here at the University of Manitoba, the Animal Science, the same. This is what I did. I applied for a PhD after Australia. I got the admission. I came here to Winnipeg for my PhD from 2013 to 2018, and the rest is just history. I came here, I did a PhD. Then I moved on. I went to McMaster in Ontario for a few years, and then a position opened up here in our department, and I moved back. Winnipeg never lets you go. I came here. I started my position as a professor in 22.
Very cool. A quick question about the dairies in Iran. What is the difference between a dairy operation in Iran than it is in Canada?
I think it's very similar to the farms in Canada, but the farms back there in Iran are basically, I would say they're larger. We have farms. It's very typical to have 800, 1,000, or even up to 5,000, 10,000 lactating cows over there. So it's more similar to some of the states in the US. But the systems, both are intensive dairy farming systems. These are not similar to what I experienced in Australia, for example. Those are pasture-based, not as intense as the way we do it here. So very similar in terms of the management systems.
It's interesting how you grew up dairy cows and now you're working with dairy cows also, right?
It is, yeah. So again, it really goes back to the passion that you grew up with, yeah.
And it's a very common thing that I hear from animal scientists is that they have a passion for animals. It's nice to hear that you also have a passion for animals.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your research a little bit. So what is your research area about and why is it important?
I'm a microbiome scientist. I'm sure you've heard about the word microbiome. I mean, pretty sure, you and most people, you've seen probiotics, prebiotics. So if you go to any drugstore, if you go to any grocery shop even now, so you could see all these different brandings, labels on those aisles that, promote your gut health, they promote the immune system. If you have pets, I'm pretty sure that you've seen the biome foods for the pets, again, to help them improve the digestive system, the immune system of the pets. So basically, my research is also about the same thing. So we are looking at the microbiome, which basically is a fancy word, it's a buzzword, but what it refers to is the collection of the microbes that live in our digestive system, on our skins. I can talk more about those. But we have trillions of those microbes in our body, and 99.99% of those are beneficial microbes that we need them, we rely on them. They do many important functions. They train our immune system, for example. When we are born, during the infancy, our immune system is very naive. It's not developed. It cannot take care of us. But what happens is that as we age, our immune system, through the interaction with these microbes, it learns how to protect our body. And many of these microbes, they are not there to harm our body. They're to basically protect our body against the harmful microbes. So that's one of the functions. The other thing that these microbes do is that they kind of increase our metabolic potential. So in simple words, they let us eat the things that we cannot eat or digest. For example, for humans, when you hear that fibers are good for your health, are good for the gut health, fibers are basically the plant cellulose material. Our body, humans, animals, we don't have enzymes. We don't produce the enzymes to use cellulose. What happens is that these microbes, they live with us and they can use the cellulose. And when they use that, they produce energy for us. They produce metabolites that are beneficial for our health. And this is basically how they enhance our metabolic potential. But the most interesting thing that these microbes do is that I always describe them as a biochemical factory. They are amazing. A tiny bug that you cannot see can produce over tens or hundreds of different chemicals, metabolites. And each of them, they have a specific function in our body. So just consider that you have massive biochemical factories inside your body that are producing beneficial stuff for you. So basically my research, what I'm doing when I say I'm a microbiome scientist, I'm trying to learn, to understand what are the ways that these microbes are basically contributing to the health, to the performance of the farm animals. Because I'm mostly working with cattle and pigs. And that's my goal, to see, how we can use these microbes. First, to learn what they do, and then how we can use them to improve the health and performance of the farm animals. That's basically my research goal in a nutshell.
Okay, very interesting. The study of the microbiome, is that something fairly new or has it been happening for a long time?
The way we are doing it is kind of recent. It started to basically bloom or started to get attention in the last 2 decades. And that's because of the new technologies that came into the market. So basically there are next generation sequencing platforms, but basically what they do is that they can sequence the genomes of the humans, microbes, animals in a very high throughput scale. Previously, we knew that microbes are there, but we didn't know how diverse they are, how many of them we have in our body. So if I tell you that our bodies are mostly microbial cells rather than human cells, in your own body, just in your gut, you have probably 10 times of the human cells that you have in your body, you have microbial cells. So these things we didn't know that until just like 15, 20 years ago that these new technologies came and we had access to them.
The reason I asked the question, even from when I was young, growing up in Eastern Europe, we were fed kefir almost every morning. I didn't really understand why it tasted great, but it's because of the probiotic. Because there's a huge connection between gut health and your overall health.
Exactly.
And the same is for animals than it is for humans.
Exactly.
What questions are you asking in your research and what are you trying to solve?
The 2 main areas that I'm looking into. So the first one is to come up with new solutions for infectious diseases. Because one of the challenges that we are facing as a society is that we need to feed the increasing global population. population. Our farmers, the agri-food industry, the main mission is basically to feed people. The population is increasing in massive numbers. Projected that by 2050, we are going to have over 10 billion people. Now, these people, they're going to need food, and including our basically high-quality animal-based protein. So to do that, what the society has decided to do, and the industry is moving more and more into that direction, is intensify the farming systems. You want to be as efficient as possible. You want to use the minimum amount of land, resources to produce the proteins. And that is usually enabled by intensified farms. When you put a lot of animals together, obviously infectious diseases become a big challenge. So what we have been using, so far traditionally was to use antibiotics. Of course, we have improved the hygiene systems, the biosecurity of the farms, but regardless, we are still using a lot of antibiotics to prevent the infectious diseases. And if I tell you, just to give you a number, about 80% of antimicrobials, antibiotics that are produced around the world, including in Canada, they are used in farm animals just to support the food production system. That number is scary. Why? Because when you use antibiotics, these bacteria, these microbes are very smart. What they do is that they evolve and they start to develop what we call antimicrobial resistance. And that antimicrobial resistance, in simple words, we call them drug-resistant bugs or pathogens. They are a threat to human society and also to the animals. Because if they develop that resistance, and if those are the bad bacteria, the pathogens, now they can kill humans, they can kill animals. Right now we have over 2 million people. There are many different reports, somewhere between 1.5 to 3 million people every year that are dying because of antimicrobial resistance. If we don't have any solution for that, it's predicted that by 2030, it's going to increase to basically over 10 million people. So basically, it's going to kill more people than cancer is doing right now. So we can't continue using antibiotics at the current rate in farm production, in farming system. So we need new solutions. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to answer. So when we want to ask farmers to stop using antibiotics, they need to have alternate solutions. And that's one of my main objectives, to try to look at these microbiomes, see what type of solutions I can come up with these microbes to offer them to the farmers to use it instead of the antibiotics to improve the health and performance of the animals, to prevent the infectious. That's one of them. The other main area that I'm really interested is to basically minimize the environmental footprints of the farm animals. Other than this antimicrobial resistance, the other important footprint is greenhouse gas emission. So the cattle, I always tell to my undergrads in my classes that they are amazing. Everything that comes to cattle, those are massive numbers. They drink something like 80 to 100 liters of water every day. Each cow over a day can produce over hundreds, up to 1,000 liters of methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas. And they're burping it, it goes to the environment. That becomes greenhouse gas challenge now for the human. Basically, approach is to see if I can come up with microbial solutions to mitigate those greenhouse gas emissions.
Quick question, just going back to the probiotic and the antimicrobial resistance. So what would be like a solution that you would potentially provide to producers after your research has completed?
The ultimate goal is to come up with different type of products like probiotics, new or what we call the next generation of probiotics, because right now what we have in the market is just a few bacteria that are safe probiotic, and you can see them on all different labels like lactobacillus, bifidobacteria. But those are not the only microbes that they have probiotic potential. So we are trying to find novel ones, especially the ones that are coming from those animals. That's a very important point, because many of the probiotics that you see in the market, they are not coming from the animal that they are basically targeting. So we get probiotics from milk, which is coming from dairy cows, and we want to feed that to human, or vice versa. So we get something from human or from a cow, we want to feed it to the pig. So this is not the best match. Each animal, they have their own beneficial bacteria. So hopefully we can come up with new probiotics, more complicated, more complex recipes of those probiotics that can help that animal fight pathogens. So basically, let's, for example, say E. coli. Everyone knows E. coli is a pathogen. So we have many pathogens within that E. coli species of the bacteria. We can come up with a specific bacteria from that animal that has the ability to kill or inhibit the E. coli. So now instead of using antibiotics to treat that animal, now we can use that probiotic. So that's one example. The other one is that we can use postbiotics. So postbiotics are basically the metabolites that these bacteria they produce. So sometimes we can't use those bacteria directly because it's impossible. In some cases, many of them, they're strictly anaerobic, which means that if you expose them to oxygen, if you want to produce them in large amounts, they cannot survive. But what we can do is to ask them to produce what they do, metabolize, and then we extract those metabolites and give them to the animals to improve their health. There are different ways that we can do that. Those are the $1 million questions that we are trying to answer.
And so how do prebiotics fit into the equation?
So there are three terms again. Yeah, so probiotic in simple words are the live beneficial bacteria that you can feed to humans, animals to improve the gut health. Prebiotic are basically the food or dietary ingredients that humans and animals cannot use them themselves, but the bacteria, they can use them. And once you feed those feed ingredients, they're going to increase the population of those beneficial bacteria in your gut. And that's basically indirectly, you're adding something to feed the bacteria. So those are prebiotics. And then the last term is the postbiotics. Again, those are the fermentation product or what the metabolites and all different stuff that the bacteria produce. That refers to the postbiotics. Okay. So we have three different terms, but they're all related to the beneficial microbes in our gut.
What is the most surprising thing or research discovery that you have come up so far in the last few years that you've been working on this?
Oh, microbes, they don't stop surprising you. I mean, every day that we go to our lab, we have a surprise over there. One of the things that we do in our lab is to basically grow these microbiomes. Not many groups do that around the world, but we love to do that basically. And what we do is that basically we try to mimic the environment that they want to grow in. We have anaerobic chambers in our lab. There is no oxygen in them. We flush those with specific gas combinations that are similar to digestive system, and we start growing these microbes. And once you grow them, you see what they can do. Many of them, they look different, and once we start looking at the genome of these microbes, now we see, oh my gosh, I mean, every single of them, they can produce over 30 to 40 different compounds that they have drug potential, because we are using a lot of, genomics, machine learning. We can predict what they do. We can't definitely show what they are doing, but we can predict that. And many of them, they produce over 40 different compounds that they have drug potential. Just imagine that a tiny bug that you cannot see that in your body, it's producing all these compounds that they can save lives. That's a very humbling experience. And that's something the Mother Nature is showing us, is teaching us. So I don't want to use the term discovery because I'm not discovering this. If I'm a good student, I'm just trying to learn a few of these things. And hopefully over the course of my career, I can try to identify a few of these things that they can save lives or they can improve the performance of the animal. Yeah, I mean, they never stop to amuse you.
You look very passionate and you talk very passionately about your work. That's wonderful. So you've talked about cattle and swine. What about poultry? Is there a type of work for poultry?
I always get criticized for that. I forgot to mention the contrast. So poultry and the pigs, I mean, we put them under the monogastric, category. They are similar to each other when you compare them to ruminants, because ruminants, they are a completely different world. The rumen in cattle, I mean, it's a different system. That's only because of the microbes. I don't want to go into too much details. If you just think about it, cattle are the only group of animals that they can basically thrive on 100% plant forage material. So those are the only group of animals. And that's because of the microbes they have in their stomach, in the rumen. For the monogastrics, like pigs, poultry, they are very similar to humans. So our digestive system is very similar. So we do a lot of similar research in the way that we are doing for the pigs with the poultry as well. So that's the reason I usually forget to mention the poultry.
We're certainly looking forward to results and all the great findings, and farmers are looking forward to the information. So like antibiotics, I mean, that's huge, is to be able to get away from antibiotics and that kind of work.
And yeah, I should mention, I mean, our farmers are also really aware of these challenges. They are supportive. I mean, we get a lot of support, a lot of attention from our farmers because they are all good. I mean, they just want to be the best farmer. They love their animals. They care for them. They want to care for them as best as they can. Again, going back to the issue of the antimicrobial resistance, they really don't have much option because they need to producing, and it's important for global security. So if we ask them to stop using the antibiotics, we need to give them some alternate solutions, and they would welcome those solutions, but we need to do that. That's my hope.
Great focus. Aside from the research, can you tell us one thing that you do outside of the university and outside of research keeps you going?
I love outdoor activities. Before moving to Canada, I was a professional mountain climber.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have...
That's awesome.
Oh, back home in Iran, we have over 400 mountains that they are over 4,000 meters.
Okay.
I always tell that around the European Alps, you have only around 40 of those mountains. We have 400 of them back in Iran. So I was out in the mountain every weekend. So that was my passion, my love. Do rock climbing, ice climbing, all those things. And then I moved to Winnipeg, the most flat area in the world. Yeah, so, but I mean, the Winnipeg, I love camping. I do backcountry camping. I've been to many of the lakes. I mean, here in Winnipeg, I usually go to Whiteshore to those lakes, Caddy Lake, Falcon Lake, that area of the love sport fishing.
That's really great. Yeah, Manitoba is a beautiful province.
It is.
To discover. Even though there's no mountains, there's lots of amazing things.
There are a lot of things to do outdoors. Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's it for today's episode of ChangeMakers. Thank you, Dr. Derakhshani, for chatting with us today about your fascinating research and about your path to become a researcher. And thank you all for listening. Join me in future episodes of ChangeMakers to hear about the fascinating research being led by agri-food innovators at the University of Manitoba.
Thank you.